Today, I want to tell you the story of a man whose name shaped modern banking, a man whose influence helped build the financial world we know today, and a man whose journey teaches us powerful lessons about confidence, persistence, and the courage to think big. This is the story of J.P. Morgan, and as we explore his life together, you will not only learn English, but also learn how one person's choices, discipline, and vision can change an entire country. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and get ready to follow this inspiring journey. Repeat after me. I can learn. I can grow. I can improve my English every day. Before we dive into the details, I want you to imagine something. Imagine. You are living in the 1800s. There are no smartphones, number laptops, no online banking, no instant transfers, and no apps. Businesses are growing, but they grow slowly. Communication takes days or even weeks. During this time, a young man named John Pierpont Morgan begins his journey. He was not born poor, but he was not born powerful either. He had opportunities. Yes, but he also had challenges. Like many of us, he had weaknesses he had to overcome, and one of those weaknesses was his health. When he was young, he often got sick. He spent many days in bed, reading, studying, and thinking. This habit of reading helped him later in life, because reading builds knowledge, and knowledge builds confidence. So think about this. Every time you practice English, every time you learn a new word, every time you understand a new sentence, you also build something strong inside yourself. Now repeat after me. Learning gives me power. J.P. Morgan was a person who believed in learning. Even when his body was weak, his mind was strong. He studied mathematics, languages, business, and history. He learned how the world works, and he learned how money moves. His father was already involved in banking, so young Morgan watched closely. He listened. He asked questions. And here is a powerful lesson for you. When you want to improve at something, do not be afraid to ask questions. Asking questions does not make you weak. It makes you smart. It helps you grow faster. So let me ask you now, what is a question you want to ask about English today? Think about it for a moment. You can even say it out loud. Practicing your voice helps you speak more clearly and confidently. When Morgan grew older, he moved to London and then to New York. These cities opened his mind. They showed him opportunities. They showed him how business worked in different parts of the world. And when you expose yourself to new ideas, new cultures, and new languages, you also grow. This is why learning English is so important. English connects you to people, places, opportunities, and knowledge that you may not have access to otherwise. English becomes a bridge. It's just like banking was a bridge for Morgan. One of the most interesting things about J.P. Morgan is that he did not become powerful overnight. He took many small steps. He made decisions carefully. He learned from mistakes. He listened to experts. And slowly, he became known as a problem solver, someone who could fix financial chaos. When companies needed help, they called Morgan. When railroads went bankrupt, he reorganized them. When the U.S. economy was in trouble, he stepped in. Trusted him because he had discipline and a calm mind. And that is something you can practice too. When you study English, stay calm, be patient, take small steps. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Repeat this after me. Small steps, every day. Let me tell you a quick story to help you connect even more with his journey. When Morgan was still young, he wanted to invest in a business. His father told him no. Said the business was too risky. Morgan listened, but he also studied that business carefully. Later, he realized his father was right. This experience taught him something important. Before you make a decision, understand the situation. Before you speak, think. Before you react, pause. These simple habits can change your life, just like they changed Morgan's. Now here is a little practice for you. Answer this question in English. What is one small habit you want to improve this week? Say it out loud. Use your voice. As Morgan continued his work, he built a reputation for stability. People said that when Morgan walked into a room, things felt calmer. His presence was strong, not because he shouted, not because he tried to impress anyone, but because he understood his work deeply. He had clarity. And clarity is something you gain with practice, repetition, and confidence. So if you ever feel nervous speaking English, remember this: confidence is not about being perfect. Confidence is about understanding your message and trusting your voice. Repeat after me: my voice matters. By now, you can see that J.P. Morgan's story is not just about money. It is about learning, discipline, communication, and growth. It is a story about a person who used his mind to shape the world around him. And you can do the same in your own way. You may not become a banker or a financial leader, but you can become someone strong, confident, and skilled in English. And that skill will open doors for you: professional doors, educational doors, and personal doors. Before we close this section, I want you to remember one simple idea. Progress feels slow, but it is never wasted. Every minute you spend learning, English becomes part of your future strength and growing stronger. If you are ready to continue, I will take you deeper into Morgan's world in the next section, where we explore his rise to power and the lessons hidden inside his biggest decisions. When we left off, J.P. Morgan was becoming a calm, steady force in a world that was rapidly changing. Now in this section, I want to take you deeper into the part of his life where he began to rise from a simple banker to a national figure, a man people looked to when things felt uncertain. As you listen, I want you to notice how every choice he made came from preparation, discipline, and a willingness to keep learning. These are qualities that you too can build as you continue your English journey. So take a slow breath, relax your shoulders, and repeat after me. I am learning with purpose. In the late 1800s, the United States was expanding faster than ever before. Railroads were spreading across the country, companies were growing, and new inventions were changing everyday life. But growth can be messy, and many businesses had unstable finances. Imagine a giant machine running at full speed, but some parts are shaking, some bolts are loose, and some parts are close to breaking. That is what the American economy looked like at the time. And this is where J.P. Morgan stepped in. He had the ability to look at a chaotic situation and see a clear solution. He understood numbers, yes, but he also understood people, timing, and leadership. Let me ask you, when you face something difficult, do you feel stressed or calm? Do you freeze, or do you look for solutions? You can answer this out loud. Your voice matters. And speaking helps you grow stronger. Morgan built his reputation by helping reorganize railroads, which were the biggest businesses of that era. Many railroad companies were losing money, poorly managed, or full of corruption. Instead of ignoring the problems, Morgan studied them deeply, met the leaders, he examined the financial records, and he searched for ways to make things stable. This is a powerful lesson for English learners. When something feels confusing, do not run away. Look closer. Break the problem into smaller parts. Study it. Repeat it. Practicing a difficult word many times is like fixing a broken track on a railroad. Once you repair it, the train moves smoothly. Repeat after me. I can fix my weak points. One famous example of Morgan's influence was his work with the railroads. During what people later called the Railroad Wars, companies were fighting each other, lowering prices, cutting corners, and often risking bankruptcy. Morgan knew that chaos helps no one. He believed that cooperation and discipline were the key to long-term success. So he brought leaders together and encouraged them to create agreements instead of battles. Imagine powerful businessmen, each wanting to win, sitting in a room with Morgan, guiding the conversation. His voice was quiet but firm. His explanations were clear. Solutions made sense. Here is something interesting. Morgan was not always liked. In fact, many people criticized him, and they said he had too much power. They said he controlled too. Many companies, they said, he influenced the economy too much. But whether people liked him or not, they could not deny one thing: he produced results. He stabilized companies. He brought order to chaos. Sometimes being effective is more important than being popular. This is another lesson for you. You study English, You do not need to impress people. You do not need to be perfect or flawless. What you need is progress. What you need is discipline. What you need is courage. Repeat after me. Progress is more important than perfection. Now, let me share a powerful moment from Morgan's life. In 1893, the United States faced a serious financial crisis. Banks were failing, businesses were collapsing, and people were losing trust in the economy. Panic was spreading everywhere. In times like these, people usually look for someone strong, someone capable, someone who does not panic. And the person they turned to was J.P. Morgan. He gathered bankers together. He created emergency funds, and he helped prevent an even deeper collapse. His calm leadership restored confidence, and slowly the crisis passed. Think about this. Confidence is contagious. When one person stands strong, others begin to feel strong too. That is why, when you speak English confidently, even if your grammar is not perfect, people still understand you. They still respect your message. Confidence gives your words power. Say this with me. My confidence helps me speak better. Morgan's influence grew even more in 1907 during another crisis. This time, the government itself turned to him. The U.S. did not yet have a central bank, so Morgan became the person who organized financial rescue efforts. He worked long nights, held meetings with business leaders, and helped stop panic from spreading. People said that his library in New York became the temporary financial center of the United States. Imagine that. One man's home becoming the heartbeat of the nation's economy. That is the power of ability, preparation, and leadership. But let me pause here and give you a small English practice. Answer this question in English. What is one skill you want to become strong in, just like Morgan became strong in leadership? Say it out loud. Your voice is part of your growth, of course. Morgan was not perfect. He had a temper at times. He had very high standards. Some employees were afraid of disappointing him. Some businessmen resented him. But even with flaws, he kept improving, kept learning, he kept focusing on solutions. And this is where he shares something important. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to keep improving. A person who keeps learning becomes powerful. Repeat after me. I grow stronger every day. Another important part of Morgan's rise was his ability to see beyond the present. He invested in industries that shaped the future: electricity, steel, and technology. He supported Thomas Edison, which helped electricity spread across America. He helped create U.S. Steel, the first billion-dollar company. He saw opportunities before others did because he trained his mind to look ahead, not just at what was in front of him. And here is a practical lesson for your English journey. Look ahead. Think about the future version of you. Imagine yourself speaking English confidently, understanding movies, expressing ideas clearly, and taking opportunities with courage. That future exists because you are building it right now. Repeat after me. My future is bright. Before we end this section, let me give you a short real-life comparison. Think of Morgan as someone who could walk into a dark room and turn on the light. That is what English can do for you. It can brighten your world. It can open doors. It can connect you to people and ideas that were once far away. So stay patient, stay strong, and stay consistent. As we continue the story of J.P. Morgan, I want you to imagine a man who is no longer just a banker, no longer just a problem solver, but someone who is shaping entire industries. In this section, we will go deeper into how Morgan built powerful companies, how he influenced technology, and how his decisions still affect the world today. And while we explore these events, you will practice new vocabulary, repeat helpful phrases, and strengthen your English step by step. Take a slow breath, relax, and say this with me. I am ready to learn more. At this stage of Morgan's life, he had already proven that he could bring stability to railroads. But he did not stop there. He was hungry for growth, curious about innovation, and focused on the future. One of the biggest areas he invested in was electricity. Today, electricity feels normal. You flip a switch, and the light turns on. You plug in your phone, and it charges. But in Morgan's time, this technology was new, confusing, and sometimes dangerous. many people did not trust it. Many investors were afraid of losing money. But Morgan had a different mindset. He believed that electricity would transform the world. And he believed in Thomas Edison, the inventor behind many new electrical ideas. Let me ask you something. Do you believe in your future? Do you believe that learning English will open doors for you? You can answer this right now. Your voice gives strength to your goals. Morgan supported Edison financially, but he also supported him with leadership and organization. Together, they helped create the Edison Electric Light Company. Later, after many changes and mergers, this company became General Electric, one of the most important companies in the history of technology. Imagine how different the world would be if Morgan had not helped Edison. Would we have electricity? In every home today, we have electric machines in modern cities. No one can say for sure, but his support certainly made a difference. This part of the story teaches an important lesson. When you see potential in something, do not be afraid to invest your time and energy into it. Your English journey is the same. You might not see results immediately. You might feel nervous or unsure. But if you stay committed, something powerful will grow. Repeat after me. Invest in my future. Now let's move to another major part of Morgan's influence, the creation of U.S. Steel. This was not just a company. It was a giant, a symbol of American industry, and the first billion-dollar corporation in the world. At that time, steel was extremely important. It was used for buildings, bridges, ships, railroads, and machines. Whoever controlled steel had enormous influence. Morgan saw an opportunity to bring many steel companies together and create one stronger, more stable company. He negotiated with business leaders, organized deals, and used his understanding of finance to create something historic. But creating U.S. Steel was not easy. Many people doubted him. Business rivals complained. Some newspapers attacked him. They said he was too powerful, too ambitious, too controlling. Yet Morgan continued because he believed in building something long-lasting. This teaches you something valuable. When you work on improving your English, some people may doubt you. Some may say it is too hard. Some may say you are not ready, but you must continue. Your belief in your learning is more important than the opinions of others. Repeat after me. I believe in my progress. Another part of Morgan's story that is often forgotten is his love for art. Yes, it's the man who controlled railroads, steel companies, and banks also had a deep passion for beauty, history, and creativity. He collected art, books, manuscripts, and rare objects from around the world. He supported museums and helped bring important cultural pieces to the United States. His personal library in New York later became the Morgan Library and Museum, a place where people today study literature, art, and history. This shows that even powerful business leaders can have a soft side, a creative side, a human side, and this connects to your English learning in a beautiful way. You are not just learning English for work or school. You are learning English to experience life more fully. Movies, books, conversations, travel, ideas, relationships. Language is not just a tool. It is a doorway to culture and connection. Say this with me. English connects me to the world. Now I want to tell you a small but meaningful story about Morgan's leadership. One time, during a meeting between powerful business leaders, there was a disagreement. The room became tense. People were arguing, voices rising, tempers getting hot. Morgan listened quietly for a moment, then he spoke in a calm, steady voice. He did not shout. He did not insult anyone. He simply explained the situation clearly and offered a solution. The room quieted down, the men listened, and the problem was resolved. This moment shows that true power is often calm, not loud. True confidence is steady, not aggressive. And here is your English lesson from this story. When you speak, speak with clarity. You do not need to rush. You do not need to speak too fast. You do not need to use complicated vocabulary. What matters is your message, your intention, and your calm confidence. Repeat after me. I speak clearly and confidently. As Morgan's influence grew, so did public attention. Some people admired him, saw him as a stabilizer, a protector of the economy. Others criticized him, calling him a monopolist or a man with too much control. This mixed reputation teaches an important truth. No matter what you do in life, not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will support you. But as long as you are acting with discipline, purpose, and honesty, your work will speak for itself. For your English journey, this means you should not worry about judgment. You should not be embarrassed about your accent, your mistakes, or your level. What matters is that you continue. What matters is that you try. What matters is that you grow. Say this with me: I am proud of my progress. As we close this section, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful question. What big dream are you building, step by step, just like Morgan built his empire? Say your answer out loud in English. Your dream deserves your voice. As we move into the next part of J.P. Morgan's life, I want you to think about the power of influence. Not force, not fear, not loudness, but influence. Influence is the ability to guide, support, and shape decisions. And Morgan, by this stage of his life, had become one of the most influential men in America. But influence does not come from titles or money alone. It comes from trust, consistency, and the courage to take responsibility during difficult moments. This section will take you through the period where Morgan's influence reached its highest point. And as you listen, I want you to practice speaking, repeating, and imagining your own growth. So take a breath and repeat after me. I am becoming stronger every day. Morgan's influence became especially clear in 1907. During what is now known as the Panic of 1907, this was not just a small financial problem. It was a moment of national fear. Banks were failing, businesses were closing, and ordinary people were withdrawing their savings, afraid they might lose everything. Imagine waking up every day not knowing whether your money, your home, or your job would still be safe. That was the atmosphere in America. People needed stability. They needed leadership. And once again, they turned to J.P. Morgan. It is important to understand that Morgan did not have to step in. He was already wealthy, already powerful, already comfortable. But he chose to act. He called meetings, gathered bank presidents, and spent long nights analyzing numbers and negotiating deals. In fact, there is a famous scene where Morgan locked a group of bankers inside his library and refused to let them leave until they agreed to work together to save the financial system. They complained, they argued, but Morgan remained calm and firm. Eventually they listened. This moment teaches a powerful lesson. Leadership often means stepping forward when others step back. And your English journey also requires leadership. Your leadership, you must lead yourself. You must motivate yourself. When you feel tired, when you feel stuck, when you feel afraid to speak, remind yourself that growth comes from courage. Repeat this: I lead myself towards success. Morgan's actions during the panic helped restore stability, but they also raised questions. People wondered how one man could have so much control over the economy. Politicians, journalists, and the public began to examine his businesses more closely. They wanted to understand how he operated and whether he held too much power. This led to government investigations, including famous hearings in Washington. D.C. reporters filled the rooms, taking notes on every word. Politicians asked tough questions, and Morgan, in his calm and direct way, answered them. One of the most famous moments from these hearings was when a politician asked Morgan what gave a banker real success. Morgan replied, "Character. It's not money, not numbers, not connections, but character." He believed that a person's honesty, discipline, and reliability were the foundation of all good business. And this is an important lesson for you. When you speak English, your character also shines through. When you try, when you stay consistent, when you speak honestly and openly, people trust you. They understand you. They connect with you. Say this with me: my character makes me strong. During this time, Morgan was aging. His hair had turned white, his shoulders were heavier, and his face looked more tired. Years of responsibility had left their mark. But even as he grew older, he continued to work, to support industries, and to guide businesses. He traveled between New York, London, and Europe, meeting leaders and discussing finance. He loved art, he loved learning, and he loved collecting rare items that inspired him. His museum-like library was filled with books, paintings, and treasures from many countries. And here is a small English lesson inside this story. Reading expands your mind. Morgan read constantly, and reading helped him think clearly. When you read in English, even simple stories, your vocabulary grows, your grammar improves, and your confidence increases. So try to read something small every day, even if it is just a paragraph. Repeat after me. Reading strengthens my English. Now let's talk about something people often forget about Morgan, his personal life. For most of his career, he kept his private world hidden behind the walls of his office and home. But he had real feelings, real struggles, and real relationships. He suffered from health problems, especially skin conditions that made him self-conscious. He avoided cameras because he hated the way he looked in photographs. He also experienced sadness and loss, especially when loved ones passed away. These difficulties remind us that no matter how powerful a person seems, they still carry their aloneness. Own quiet battles. This is important for you too. You may look strong on the outside, but inside you might feel shy, nervous, or insecure about your English. That is normal. That is human. Even successful people feel doubt, but they continue anyway. And that is what makes them strong. Repeat. I keep going even when it feels hard. As Morgan grew older, he also became more aware of the changes happening in the world. New technologies were emerging. Automobiles were becoming more common. New companies were rising. Younger entrepreneurs were appearing with fresh ideas. Morgan respected innovation, but he sometimes struggled with the new pace of the world. He believed in order, discipline, and structure, while the younger generation believed in speed, experimentation, and risk. This is a reminder that the world is always changing, just like language. English today is different from English 20 years ago. New words appear, new expressions spread, new communication styles become popular. But you do not have to fear change. You can adapt. You can learn step by step, just like Morgan learned to adjust to new industries and new generations. Say this with me. I adapt. I learn. And I grow. As we near the end of this section, I want to share a quiet but touching detail. In his final years, Morgan spent more time with his art collection than with his financial empire. He walked slowly through his library, studying each painting, each manuscript, each sculpture. These objects reminded him of history, creativity, and the beauty of life, things that money alone cannot create. This shows us that success is not only about wealth or achievement, it is also about peace, meaning, and connection. And that is the same for your English journey. You are not just learning English for a job or a test. You are learning to connect with more people, to express your heart, to understand stories, and to grow as a person. Repeat after me. English helps me connect with the world. As we enter this next part of J.P. Morgan's story, I want you to imagine a man who has spent decades building companies, stabilizing economies, guiding leaders, and shaping the financial future of an entire nation. Yet even with all his power, influence, and success, Morgan was still human. He faced pressures, criticism, and challenges that tested his strength. In this section, we will explore his final years, his lasting legacy, and the powerful lessons that you can use on your English learning journey. Take a slow breath, relax, and repeat after me. I am ready to grow. By the early 1910s, Morgan was one of the most recognized men in America and Europe. Newspapers wrote about him constantly. Political leaders studied his actions. Businessmen followed his decisions closely. But visibility brings pressure, and Morgan often felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. One of the biggest pressures came from public opinion. Many ordinary Americans felt uncomfortable with the idea that one man could have such enormous influence over the national economy. They worried that he had too much control, too much power, too much ability to shape markets. In response, the U.S. government began passing new laws that limited the size of companies and the power of financiers like Morgan. Imagine spending your life building something, only to see new rules created to restrict your influence. For Morgan, this was a difficult shift, but he did not fight with anger. Instead, he accepted that the world was changing and that new systems were needed. This is an important lesson. Sometimes in life, even when you disagree with change, you must adapt with grace. In your English journey, you may not always understand every rule, every pronunciation, or every grammar point immediately. But if you stay patient, you will improve. Repeat after me. Accept challenges with patience. During this time, Morgan continued to travel often. One of his favorite destinations was Europe, especially England, France, and Italy. He enjoyed meeting leaders, exploring art, and attending important cultural events. In Europe, he was not only seen as a banker, but also as a respected patron of the arts. Museums welcomed him. Artists admired him. Historians valued him. His collections were breathtaking: ancient manuscripts, Renaissance paintings, rare books, and beautiful sculptures. Why did a businessman care so much about art? Because art reminded him of human creativity, beauty, and imagination, things beyond money and business. And this teaches you something powerful. Language is also a form of art. When you speak English, you are not just using grammar. You are expressing emotion, imagination, and connection. You are participating in a global conversation filled with stories and beauty. Repeat after me. English is my tool for connection. One meaningful moment from Morgan's final years occurred when he visited Rome. While walking through ancient ruins, he paused and said softly that these stones, these buildings, these monuments had lasted centuries, far longer than any business or bank. It was a moment of humility. He realized that even the greatest institutions are temporary, but ideas, culture, and human creativity can last forever. In this way, Morgan began thinking less about power and more about legacy. What would he leave behind? What would the world remember? And this brings us to you. When you learn English, think about the long term. Think about what you are building inside yourself: confidence, communication, and global understanding. These are skills that can last a lifetime. Now, let's talk about the moment the world realized how important Morgan truly was. In 1913, during a European trip, J.P. Morgan passed away in Rome. When the news spread, both the United States and Europe reacted with shock and sadness. Flags were lowered. Newspapers wrote long articles honoring his life. Leaders sent messages of respect. Even people who had once criticized him admitted that Morgan had played a vital role in stabilizing the American economy during times of crisis. But the most surprising moment came from President Woodrow Wilson. When he learned the news, he paused and said that while Morgan had been powerful, the nation had sometimes relied too much on one man. That is why later in 1913, the United States created the Federal Reserve, a central bank designed to protect the financial system so that the country would never again depend on a single private individual. This was one of Morgan's greatest legacies. He helped inspire a system that would support the nation long after he was gone. This is a powerful reminder that your actions today can create systems, habits, and strengths that last for years. When you practice English today, even just a few minutes, you are building a skill that will support your future self again and again. Say this with me. My efforts today create my success tomorrow. After Morgan's death, his art collection, rare books and manuscripts were organized and eventually turned into the Morgan Library and Museum in New York City. Today, thousands of visitors walk through its quiet halls every year, admiring the beauty he preserved. This library is more than a building. It is a symbol of Morgan's love for knowledge, creativity, and learning. And it shows that even someone known for money and business can leave behind something deeply human: your English journey is also deeply human. It is not just about vocabulary. It is about expression, confidence, opportunity, and connection. When you grow your English skills, you grow your world. Now, let's pause for a moment of reflection. Think about this question and answer it out loud. What legacy do you want to create with your English? Do you want to communicate with people around the world? Do you want a better career? Do you want to understand inspiring stories? Your answer matters. Morgan's life also teaches us something about balance. Even with all his achievements, he sometimes missed moments with family, sometimes ignored his own health. He sometimes forgot to rest. And this reminds us that true success requires balance, learning, working, resting, connecting, and caring for yourself. So as you study English, remember to enjoy the process. Celebrate small victories. Take breaks when you need them, and come back stronger each time. Repeat after me. I learn with balance and joy. As we close this section, reflect on the main lessons from Morgan's final years. Accept change gracefully. Think long-term. Honor creativity. Seek balance and build a lasting legacy through your actions. These lessons apply not only to business, but also to your personal growth, your language learning, and your future dreams. When we talk about people who left a permanent mark on the financial world, J.P. Morgan's name shines like a bright lighthouse on a dark sea. But his influence did not stop with banks, railroads, or companies. His final legacy was something even more human, more emotional, and more inspiring. It was the legacy of helping future generations learn, grow, and imagine. In this section, I want you to feel the deeper lesson behind his story. I want you to practice English while also practicing a bigger idea. The idea that learning can transform your life, no matter where you start. Let's begin by imagining a moment near the end of J.P. Morgan's life. He had achieved everything society told him was success. He had money, power, respect, and global influence. But what did he focus on in his final decades? Art, museums, education, knowledge, curiosity. He built one of the greatest personal libraries in the world. He collected rare manuscripts, paintings, sculptures, and works of history. Why? Because he believed knowledge is wealth. He believed beauty feeds the mind. He believed learning can shape the future. And here's the interesting part. J.P. Morgan didn't collect things to hide them. He collected them to share them. That's why the Morgan Library in New York exists today. People visit from every corner of the world. They see history with their own eyes. They discover stories, ideas, and lessons from around the globe. And it all began with one person's belief that knowledge should be protected and passed on. Think about this for a moment. Repeat after me. Knowledge is a treasure. Learning changes lives. My English journey is worth the effort. Now I want to connect Morgan's love of knowledge to your own English learning path. You may not build a giant library or create a financial empire, but you can build something else, your personal store of knowledge. Every new word you learn is like a coin. Every sentence you practice is like an investment. Every mistake you correct becomes experience. When you learn English, you are building your own kind of power. Not the power to control businesses, but the power to communicate, to express yourself. Let me tell you a short story. Let me tell you a short story that connects perfectly with this idea. A few years ago, I met a young man who worked in a small shop. He wanted to improve his English, but he felt shy and embarrassed. He told me, "I am too late. I am too old. I don't have the background. I cannot learn like others." I smiled and asked him one simple question. Did J.P. Morgan start rich in knowledge? He looked confused, so I explained. He started with books, curiosity, and a desire to learn. That was his real power. The young man nodded, took a deep breath, and started practicing English every day. 6 months later, he got a promotion because he could talk to international customers. 1 year later, he moved to a better job. His life changed not because of luck, but because of learning. Repeat this sentence. Learning gives me power. I can grow. I can progress. I can change my life. Now let's return to J.P. Morgan. Despite being extremely powerful, he always respected people who knew more than him in specific fields. He hired experts. He surrounded himself with skilled thinkers, engineers, and advisors. He believed a smart person asks questions. A confident person listens. Strong leader learns continuously. You can adopt this mindset too. You don't need to know everything. You just need to stay open to learning. Imagine you are walking into the Morgan Library, the tall ceilings, the wooden shelves, the gold-lettered book spines, the old paper smell, the quiet atmosphere. Can you feel it? This is the kind of environment that invites you to learn. But here's the secret. You don't need a big library to grow. All you need is consistency. All you need is time. All you need is effort. Even 10 minutes a day can make you stronger. Repeat after me. My effort matters. My progress is real. I choose to grow every day. Morgan also teaches us a powerful lesson about legacy. A legacy is not money. A legacy is not fame. A legacy is the impact you leave on others. Your English journey can become a legacy too. The way you improve, the way you speak, the way you communicate, these things will influence your children, your friends, your co-workers. People learn from your actions, not just your words. Imagine someone watching you study English. They see you trying, practicing, improving. They say, if he can do it, maybe I can too. That is a legacy. That is impact, his influence. J.P. Morgan used his resources to build institutions. But you can use your determination to build inspiration. Now, let me ask you a question. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Think about it for a moment. Think about the people who matter to you. Think about how your English journey might help them. When you learn English, you are not only helping yourself, you are helping everyone around you. That is a powerful reason. To keep going, let's practice a few useful Level 3 English expressions that connect to Morgan's story. Repeat after me. I am investing in my future. I am committed to learning. I am building confidence step by step. I will not stop improving. I am capable of great things. These sentences carry emotional power. They create momentum. Say them again if you can. Feel the strength behind them. Now, let's tie everything together. J.P. Morgan's life shows us that success is not a straight line. It is full of challenges, failures, risks, and breakthroughs. But the most important part is this. He kept going. And you can keep going too. Whether your English feels strong or weak today, it is growing. Whether your practice feels easy or difficult, it is working. Whether you feel confident or nervous, you are building skills. Repeat after me. I am improving every day. I can speak English clearly. I can express myself with confidence. As this section ends, I want you to remember one final message. Your story is still being written. J.P. Morgan finished his. You are still in the middle of yours. Keep learning. Keep practicing. Keep believing in yourself.